Hello and welcome to my channel Study History with Mr. P. This GCSE history topic summary video focuses on the event of the Cuban Revolution of 1959 and the Bay of Pigs incident of 1961. So first up, the Cuban Revolution of January 1959. This is when Fidel Castro and Che Guevara led a group of revolutionaries in toppling the pro-American government that was in Cuba. The ruler of Cuba up until this point was a man named Batista, who had become incredibly unpopular with the Cuban people because of the corruption in his government, his cancelling of scheduled elections, perhaps to avoid losing, and his jailing and killing of opponents. The American president at the time, Eisenhower, was concerned because American businesses had invested heavily in Cuba over the years and owned a lot of land there. So, for example, Cuba's oil refineries, electricity and phone networks as well as railways were essentially controlled by Americans. The USA was also an important investor in Cuba's main export, which was sugar. But Fidel Castro, as the new leader of Cuba, was a nationalist, and he did not want his country's economy to be under American control. The Cuban government therefore seized land that had been held by foreign nationals, so mainly Americans. And Castro began appointing communists to his government, which obviously worried the Americans. The USA was concerned that there was a pro-Soviet regime being established just 145 kilometers away from mainland USA. Therefore, in July 1960, Eisenhower reduced the amount of sugar that the USA would buy from Cuba, then in October banned all trade with the country, and in January 1961 broke off all diplomatic relations with Cuba. I think Eisenhower hoped that these actions would perhaps lead to changes in Cuba, maybe a change of stance by Castro, or would economically cripple Cuba in such a way that Fidel Castro's regime would be toppled. However, back in February 1960, Castro had made an agreement with the Soviet Union. And the agreement was that Khrushchev, as leader of the Soviet Union, said the country would buy Cuban sugar and provide economic aid. There was also a secret clause in this agreement, not known at the time outside of these two parties, which said Cuba would receive arms from the Soviet Union. In many ways, the outcomes of the Cuban Revolution are in themselves the major cause of the Bay of Pigs incident of 1961. So on the 17th of April 1961, a group of Cuban exiles, so Cuban people who had left Cuba after Fidel Castro had launched the revolution and had been living in the USA, were trained by the CIA to invade Cuba at the Bay of Pigs to try and topple Cuba's regime under Castro. However, this invasion, or attempted invasion, was a complete failure, and it was a complete failure for a number of reasons. First of all, Castro found out in advance about the plan and had 20,000 soldiers waiting to fight off the invaders. The invaders did not get the support that they'd hoped for from ordinary Cubans, and the invaders themselves were volunteers with little military experience, and the US forces themselves did not get involved. Castro then showed off the evidence of the Cuban victory, including evidence of US involvement. And this led to a number of consequences. First and foremost, this was a failure for the USA. It made it look as if the USA was trying to influence an independent country, much as the same way that the USA criticised the Soviet Union for doing over the satellite states. It also led the Soviet Union to point out that Cubans were happy under the pro-communist Castro, and it led to further stronger relations between the Soviet Union and Cuba. And as we know, Khrushchev said he would provide arms to Cuba.